And Tajon Buchanan is also attracting some interest across Europe. Fabrizio Romano reporting that recently promoted Sassuolo are interested in Buchanan on an €8 million transfer with a sell-on fee and Inter Milan buyback clause. Villarreal and a litany of other clubs across the top 5 leagues also potentially interested. But would Sassuolo be a good enough move considering that it would keep him in Serie A, but of course on a much different type of team than Inter Milan, likely at the other end of the table, just trying to fight to stay up, Brendan?
But on a team where you'd expect him to get more minutes, even more so than at Villarreal. So I think it's good. I think it's a league that suits him. I think it's, Inter Milan obviously see that. They just don't see him as a fit for their team, which is unfortunate because I don't think he's been given the opportunity. At the same time, I hope that maybe some of the things that were the knock against him at Inter, like his Italian, maybe that will get better and strengthen at Sassuolo, and he'll have more opportunities. And man, that place is a factory. Sassuolo is the Brighton equivalent in Italy in terms of turning over players and vaulting players, to new heights and developing their game. So I think for where Tajon Buchanan is at and what he needs right now, still only 1 year removed from that leg break, I think that'd be a good opportunity for him. And he'd still play against some of the biggest clubs in Europe and in one of the top 5 leagues. So it does feel like it'd be a good fit and an opportunity that might be bigger than staying at Villarreal.
I think it's like a good move in the sense it's top 5 league. They've got a reputation. You think of guys like Berardi, what a player that would be to emulate in terms of a winger that's, been prominent at Sassuolo. At the same time, I think from Tajon Buchanan's standpoint, it's almost, and it's not a shot at like a Sassuolo, but I feel like he can do better. I think he can do better because at the end of the day, he's still, despite being fresh off a leg break, being out of form, he still played like a pretty decently significant role on Villarreal, helping them reach the Champions League in La Liga, right? He scored against Barcelona. They were starting him even though he was just a lone player. This is still a guy that played with Club Brugge in the Champions League, played against some top teams, significant roles. This is still a guy that was on the books at Inter Milan. And when he was linked with that move to Villarreal, what were some of the club's interests, right? It was the Romas, Torinos, Ajax, right? Wasn't there Frankfurt potentially? I might be mixing up players, the Canadian players on that one. Now you look, I think one of the teams I saw was Brentford. I just look at all those options and I'm thinking, man, if I'm Buchanan, those are clubs pushing for Europe. In some cases like Villarreal, they're in Europe thanks to his own contributions. It does feel like this Sassuolo offer, it just kind of sets the line of what he's worth. And if no one else is willing to meet that, then Sassuolo, again, like I said off the top, a good move. But I just find it hard to believe that a Villarreal, after the way they treated him well, gave him the opportunities, they wouldn't look at a price around 8 million. You have to remember you get a big windfall for being in Champions League the way they are and things of the like. They can afford something like that. I feel like this one isn't done yet. But again, it's obviously a good link, but I feel like this saga is far from over in my opinion, because I think Buchanan, he might not be an Inter Milan player, but he's still a player that can play on those top 5 to 10 teams in these top 5 European leagues. And I think his stint at Villarreal proved that, in my opinion.
All those clubs you mentioned, though, he'd be really challenging for minutes and could be tough. Whereas I think in this scenario, them willing to meet that price, because I think Villarreal were happy with him, but they didn't like the price of the loan agreement, which was maybe more than Inter had paid. The terms of the Villarreal loan deal were not that favorable for Villarreal, even though he had performed well for them. So I think they'd like to keep him. They just like to renegotiate that.
That's why I wonder this Sassuolo deal might be, again, Inter kind of being like, this is the new price, right? Yeah. Because if there was double figures, I find it hard to believe 8 million. That's obviously lower than that reported buyback, that wouldn't interest Villarreal. And from Inter's point, would you not want to sell him outside the league, right? Like sell him to a team they don't have to worry about potentially. Because you know how football is. Like it'd be so fitting that Sassuolo gets scheduled with Inter in like week 35. You're in a Scudetto race, and on comes Tajon Buchanan, scores a brace just to mess with you. Like I do wonder there's this push to maybe move him outside of Italy.
I do have a just gut feeling that he ends up back at Villarreal. It seemed like he started to really fit there and hit a bit of form, especially scoring against Barcelona and hitting that form that helped them get so close to the top of the table. That I think that they'll probably bite on whatever that price will be. But the important thing is going to be where does he, end up in the next few weeks? Like, this doesn't have much time to drag on as a transfer saga, because he needs to get to a club before the season starts, and we're only 4 weeks away from the starts of some European seasons, if that. I mean, some are already underway. If you want to talk Champions League qualifying, that he has to sort this out very quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if either that's staying at Villarreal or going to a place that might not be ideal. And maybe that's where a team like Sassuolo comes into the picture, because that's a move that he could probably make quite easily. And that might be, he's left out of options and he has to go take one to just play for the start of the season, because you don't want to be waiting until, late August to be signing somewhere, which would be difficult for his perspective and staying informed for the World Cup as well, Brendan.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A lot of good points. I just hope that it gets resolved quickly and he can have a good preseason and stay healthy.